The beginning of a relationship with a girl. The man finally met the girl he liked. And he sets a goal for himself so that she agrees to a relationship, and ideally she offered them herself. That would be a success. That is, a man is focused only on one task: how will she like me, how to impress. So, this is a big mistake. The beginning of a relationship can be imagined as a transaction in which you shake hands. What does that mean? This means that at this moment you fully approve, accept your partner's lifestyle, his preferences and hobbies. Is that why there are conflicts in the relationship? Yes, because you are signing this contract, blindly, under the influence of feelings. What is the result of this? A few years pass, and suddenly you see that a message comes to her phone with the inscription, John Job. Do you have a question? Who is this? What else is going on? She says, yes, so, well, my colleague, we sometimes communicate on business. And if you're trying to somehow charge her for it? She said, what's the big deal here? And why can't a man and a woman be friends? Well, you understand the principle. Have you not discussed this issue at all? Why is it that at the beginning of the relationship there were no Johns? You didn't care. Yes, you just didn't know what ideas were really inside her head, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore. The important thing is that there was such an idea. The woman most likely did not hide her position, you just did not ask her about it, and now any attempt to redo these agreements is a conflict. You will meet fierce resistance. Because a woman will feel that at this moment you are violating her personal boundaries, invading her personal space. Did you indicate in the contract that you are against it? No. Well, then sit and be quiet. And this applies to absolutely any question: when to give birth, how to raise a child, a man's career, cooking, cleaning. Her expectations from your relationship with her. It turns out that if you did not touch the woman's worldview at the entrance to the relationship and did not draw red lines, then you yourself sign a contract in which you have no rights. You don't even know the terms of this contract. Yes, why are men ready to fall in love, take care of, invest, worry in order to sign this slave contract? A man perceives this day as a holiday. Tiffany agrees. And what Tiffany agrees to, that doesn't bother you at all. Well, a little later you'll find out about it yourself when you're rattling dishes in the kitchen. Why did I call this contract a slave contract? Because you have no right to influence a woman's reality map, and in such a situation, anyone can become an authority for a woman. Today is a psychologist, tomorrow is a friend, and the day after tomorrow is a friend's boyfriend. And at night it's a blogger, a TikToker, and you will still discuss with her on the topic of who is right. I'm sure you've noticed that the same woman in relation to one person can be submissive, malleable, and listen to him in everything. You like everything, everything suits her, everything is fine, and in relation to another man with similar requirements on his part, she sends him to hell. She says abuser, tyrant, and put me in a cage. It turns out that we have just formulated the definition of who the abuser is. An abuser is a man who claims power in a relationship, which, in the opinion of a woman, he did not deserve. That is, it is a question of conditions, the conditions of which you did not set at the beginning of the relationship. Conclusion. Either you will do it now, or you will never do it, because the rules in relationships are plastic only for the first time, and in the future it will be very difficult to change them. Therefore, if you succumb to love psychosis and do not predict the situation in advance, then get ready for the fact that you will but endlessly with a woman. You will fight with her regularly. And a lot that you will have to endure. You will have to convince yourself that it's okay to swear, that all people live like that. Well, quite often in the comments about this they write that you are not telling the truth, there is always a conflict in the relationship. Well, if you choose a woman as infantile, then yes, it's true, they are inevitable, but if this is a mature and reasonable approach, then there will be no conflicts. Well, it's really hard for me to come up with reasons for which I could somehow quarrel with my wife. That is, well, even if I go to her now somehow, she won't answer me aggressively. Well, that is, with all my desire, I can't even provoke a quarrel. Therefore, ideally, you need to get as much information about your partner as possible. To anticipate potential ideological conflicts and immediately resolve them. This should not be an ultimatum, we need to act through soft power. Well, for example, you say, listen, you're interesting, and I really like to communicate with you, but there is such a detail that I can't accept in any way. Then you designate the problem, and with a woman the choice is either to start a relationship and agree to your terms, or not to start them at all. I want to emphasize. It should be her choice. A woman in this matter should take responsibility for herself. If you put a lot of pressure in the ultimatum, you will talk to her, maybe she will agree. But after a while, the girl will say, "You limit me, I'm tired of living like this, I want to live differently." Therefore, this is a fundamental moment, so that this is a woman's decision, so that she can say that, "Yes, I refuse this," and can you even clarify with her for sure? Are you sure? Well, good. But what prevents women from breaking these agreements one day? In fact, nothing, but you will get the option to show her for it and minimize the risks. As the practice of distancing or ignoring shows, such situations are very easy. Every day I am surprised that before the consultation, I always send a brief. It contains 20 questions there, and one of them sounds like this: what are your woman's life priorities? Then career, self-realization, family, or none at all. So, many people can't even give a clear answer. The man never even thought about it. That is, it's the same as going to a bus stop, getting on a random bus and believing that it will bring you to the right point. There is, of course, another extreme. When a man at the beginning of a relationship tries to tighten all the nuts. He tells the woman, so, don't get dressed, don't do that, delete this photo, and don't write to a childhood friend. The strategy is not very working. Why? If there is a need to completely remake the whole woman, then the question arises, as if, why did you choose her at all? Moreover, if she does what you asked her to do, it will only be under your constant pressure. And this means that as soon as the feelings pass or at least weaken, the thread will instantly tear off, and you will turn into a monkey. Well, the woman will say that she is already tired of it. Why do direct prohibitions in relationships never work? Everything is very simple. Your woman wants to get dopamine, well, that is, through some kind of entertainment, communication, leisure, immodest photos on social networks. And you say I forbid it. As a result, instead of the pleasure hormone, instead of a portion of dopamine, she receives a dose of stress hormones. This happens 100 times and a little later. Of course, the feelings will go away, that is, the relationship with you ceases to bring the desired pleasure, and it begins to seem that she will be better off without you or with someone else. What conclusion can we draw? There is a time for everything. There is a time to sow, there is a time to reap the fruits. If at the beginning of a relationship you thoughtlessly get high and sign a contract that is not promising for your relationship with a woman, then there will be nothing to reap. Before starting a relationship, first of all, it is necessary to conduct analytical work, and you cannot believe in every word of a partner, because people often do not know how to predict their desires, decisions. What does it mean? This means that a person's behavior and decision are unpredictable even for himself. People tend to hide the truth about themselves. It's like putting tea at school. Here you come on a date, you open a women's diary, and half of the information is hidden. You see solid fives, but what really? There, under the putty, even the woman herself will hardly remember. One of the most popular examples is: you met a woman, she says that she is categorically against cheating and there has never been such an abomination in her life and cannot be, she does not understand why people do it. But when you start to delicately, gradually learn about previous relationships, sometimes it turns out that one day she broke up with a guy, and after 2 weeks she got together with a new one. Suddenly it turns out that they were familiar with this new guy before, but it's not cheating. Yes, that is, as a person explains inside his head, yes, she managed to break up, right? Well, so everything is fine. In order to acquire such a skill, you need to go through the following practice. You will find out the position of a woman on a particular issue, and then you can look into her past and try to find confirmation of her words. After 10, 20, 50 times you will be surprised, you will realize that most people evaluate themselves inadequately. A person is not talking about his real self. And about the fictional person he would like to be, try to find these contradictions. This will be the first step to learning how to predict human behavior over a long distance. What I would like to say in conclusion. The ideal option is to choose a woman who does not have to forbid anything. A tolerable option is if there are some, well, minor nuances that need to be resolved immediately before the relationship begins. The third option is unacceptable and insane. This is when people come together and in the course of a romantic relationship, when you, in fact, are not burdened with anything yet, you start swearing. If you do not have children, then you have not yet known the real problems and trials. All you need to decide in the course of your communication is to choose a day when you get high from each other, plan your leisure time, make a date. That's all. If in such hothouse conditions you still manage to quarrel, then what prospects can we talk about at all? It's just stupid. And for your childishness. By the way, if you are still led to such a relationship, and it will not be you who will answer, but that little man who may one day appear inside a sick relationship, and you will explain to him in the future like this and say, "Sorry, son, Dad just fell in love with a girl, and that's why I lied to myself every day to myself." Well, if this has already happened, then you should not engage in self-eating. This is not going to help. Act in the conditions that you have now. And if you are one step away from this mistake and you really want to make it, then first slap yourself properly on the cheeks. And then think not about yourself, but about those people who depend on you, about those people whom your infantilism will one day destroy and cause serious damage.